A native of Horicon, Louis Curly Radke dedicated his life to educating the public about the urgency of saving the marsh. In 1927, the state legislature passed a bill to restore the marsh as a wildlife refuge. Radke passionately worked to assure the future of the marsh by organizing such events as Duck Liberation Day and by gaining federal government involvement. An employee of the John Deere Company for 46 years, Curly Radke's real job was restoring and protecting wildlife habitat.
My grandfather was born and raised in Horicon, and he, like many people of his era, grew up hunting and fishing. As a matter of fact, he helped put food on the table for his family by hunting and fishing. So he had a very personal connection with the marsh, as did most people who lived in that area. And I think for him, the idea that the whole marsh would just disappear and it would become drained farmland and all of these beautiful ducks and geese and animals that called the marsh home was unthinkable for him. So, like many people, it became a priority for him to invest his personal time in trying to save the marsh. My grandfather had a lot of talent. He was a great speaker and an amazing singer. And so my mother, who was an accomplished pianist, tells the story about how they would go around to community meetings, not just in the Horicon and Dodge County area, but all of Wisconsin and the Midwest, to give speeches on the topic of the Horicon Marsh and why it was so important to save the marsh. But they would also sing songs. In a time when there wasn't a lot of entertainment, if somebody came to town to not only sing their favorite songs, but also give a talk about an important topic, people turned out. So Curly and my mother, Lois, they were on the circuit. And I think that built up energy and familiarity with the issue way beyond just people who cared about hunting and fishing. He used his talents to win the message. As you can see, he was not a shy guy. Curly was willing to reach out to many organizations, invite the legislature, invite the governor, bring him to town. So you can see that he was willing to take the kinds of steps that really built the energy and the support from not just his community and the region, but the whole nation. For a man who didn't even have a high school education, accomplished amazing things. He's unquestionably one of my great heroes because he took a problem that could have very easily been one of those things that no one really took ownership of. You know, because at the time the prevailing thought was, well, sure, just drain it, turn it into farmland, we need more farmland. It would have been very easy, particularly for a guy in his line of work, to simply say, you know, this is too hot to handle, I think I'll let somebody else worry about this problem. His personal commitment to conservation and to seeing the Horicon Marsh as it is today, that he had that vision and he wouldn't give up on the vision, is a tremendous inspiration to me. And I think it should be an inspiration to people of this generation. You know, we look at all of the controversies associated with environmental causes today and say, you know, we're just completely outgunned, we're outspent by large industrial and corporate interests and land developers, so why don't we just give up and go with the flow? People like Curly Radke said, I'm never going to give up. His life was threatened many times. When Curly went traveling around Wisconsin to give his speeches, he carried a pistol with him because he knew that he was a threat to the establishment. So getting both the Wisconsin legislature and Congress to do something that was not politically acceptable but had a long-lasting impact on the entire region, not to mention all of the fish and wildlife and birds that call that place home. He's a hero.
Curly Radke demonstrates what each of us can do for future generations.